Hi, my fellow Gooners, humans, and everything in between. Concourse TV, the place to be. World Cup 2026 has just concluded with Spain as the champions of the world. Campeones, campeones, ole, 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 and all of that jazz. I'm going to break down a list of players from the 48 nations that can make an impact at Arsenal, whether that be first team or second string. Some of them may not have any players, but I'm still going to cover players that could be of interest, even if I don't think they fit into Arsenal's team right now. It could be one to watch for seasons to come. So I'm going to try and keep it as fluid as I can. I'm going to start off in group order. So I'm going to start off with Group A. Let's get into it. Let's start with the first team, Mexico, aka Mexico. The player I would say to sign from them would be Gilberto Mora. He is a number 10, a cam. He had good performances throughout the World Cup. He's only 17 years old. I believe his ceiling's high to go on to do more. He's someone I already knew about before the World Cup, and I'm surprised no one's actually come in and made a solid bid. Let's move on to South Africa, a player called Mofo Keng. He plays for Union SG at the moment, currently playing his trade there, he plays as a cam or a left winger. South Korea. I originally had Kim Min Jae down of Bayern. However, he's a left centre back, and I feel we have enough of those at the moment. We have Hincapi who can play there. We have Calafiori. We're on to Group B. The first team of Group B I'm going to look into is Switzerland. Most people know the player I'm already going to say. That would be Antonio Nusa. He is a left winger. The third team of Group B, Bosnia and Herzegovina. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I've always known it as Bosnia, but this is the extended version. I want to say it as the proper way that they wish for it to be said. So, with that aside, I would look at Dedic. He's a right wing back. Unfortunately, I do not feel that Canada have any players that could get into Arsenal's team at the moment. Let's keep this one short and sweet. The last team of Group B, Qatar. There aren't any players that can get into Arsenal's team from Qatar. Let's move on to Group C. I'm going to start off with Brazil. We all know who we're linked to at the moment, Bruno Guimaraes. He plays on the right side of the midfield in the, let's say, the 6 to 8 role. More of the 8 role, but can operate as a 6, a double pivot, so forth. Hopefully we get this deal done and closed, as I believe he can bring something to our midfield, a bit of bark, a bit of bite, and a bit of precision in terms of passing in between the lines and so forth. The only issue I have with Bruno at the moment, which I've actually explained to people why I wasn't really looking at him as the choice signing, is because he's similar to Xhaka in terms of he's not actually super fast. I think he's technically sound. He gets about the pitch well, but in terms of tackling, he's very reckless, and I'm just worried he comes into Arsenal and he's getting a lot of yellow cards or a lot of red cards, because you can't get away with the sort of reckless tackling he's getting away with at Newcastle at Arsenal. This shirt, it hits different. So I don't know where we go from here. But yeah, if we get him, it's a welcome signing. I believe he walks into this team at the moment, to be honest, into our midfield. So, and hopefully ahead of Odegaard. I want to see Odegaard dropped and phased out. The World Cup is irrelevant to me. I've seen this guy missing for 2 to 3 seasons now. So I'm sorry, a World Cup redemption tour does not restore my ability or my faith in Odegaard at the moment. So we really need to upgrade that position, in my opinion. Let's move on to the next target. Vinicius Jr., he's more of a marquee dream signing. He could possibly leave in 2027 as a free agent. I believe this is one Arsenal should really be looking into. And if they were bold, I would push the agenda for this guy. I believe it could be done. I mean, it would be a very difficult deal to get done. But for me, I think they should show a bit of ambition, a bit of cojones, as the Brazilians would say, and just slap 150 million on the table, offer them Martinelli and say, yo, what do you want to say? How do you want to do this? And take it from there. I believe Martinelli gets into that Real Madrid team over Rodrigo. For sure I do. I didn't want Rodrigo to replace what we had last season. So in my honest opinion, he walks into that team. Rodrigo doesn't start games straight away. And at Real Madrid, I believe they would get a tune out of Martinelli that we're just not getting. So I believe Vinny Jr. is definitely someone we should look into. The next target is Endrick. He's really young. He plied his trade last season in Ligue 1. Centre forward, had a good chance to score in the World Cup when he missed that horrible chance, that one-on-one. However, he was thrown in fresh into the game. I believe he's going to grow and get better. He's a little on the diminutive side, so he's a little smaller than most centre forwards you would want. However, I believe his pace and trickery and his overall finishing ability, I think he could go on to do big things. The next team up is Morocco. I'm sure you can guess the name who I'm going to say. Ayoub Bouadi, a right-sided centre midfielder. He's a quality player, 18 years old, extremely high ceiling, potential to go on to be a great, to be honest. For Group C, I can hammer out two at the same time. Scotland and Haiti do not have any players that I feel could get into our team at the moment. Let's move on to Group D, the third co-host of the World Cup. I believe they have a player there for us. His name is Malik Tillman. He plays as a number 10. I've been extremely impressed with him from his time within the Eredivisie already. He then moved over to the Bundesliga and started playing his trade and doing well there. And then at the World Cup, I would say for me, he was one of USA's best players. We move on to Australia. Australia have a right-sided centre-back called Shakati. He currently is playing at Parma in Serie A. I believe he could do a job for us. He's had a pretty decent season for Parma in Serie A, and he's also had a decent World Cup. Paraguay will be short and sweet. The next team of Group D, there are no players in that team I believe could get into our side. Last but not least of Group D, Turkey, also known as Turkey. They have a couple of players. I know you most likely know both names already that could get into our team. The first one is Arda Güler. He plays as a number 10 for Real Madrid. Now that would be a very difficult deal to get done. At the moment, I don't see anyone in Real Madrid's side that could possibly step into that position already, or they would have to go into the market and sign someone like Nico Paz, so maybe calling him back from Como. So yes, it's very difficult to see how that would get done, but it could possibly get done if Nico Paz comes back to Real Madrid, because then that pushes Arda Güler down the pecking order for me, as I believe Nico Paz has a higher ceiling of potential. So it's possible. Anything's possible in football. Let's move on to the next target of Turkey. That would be Yildiz. He's been around for a minute. Left winger, plays for Juve. He's fast. He's adventurous, he's daring, he's everything you would probably want in a left winger, and he presses. Yes, guys, he defends too. We move on to Group E, Germany. I have one player I wish to highlight, which is Felix Nemesha. I believe he's a decent player. I remember him from his Leeds days. He played a bit further up the pitch and has slowly progressed backwards, and now is becoming a prominent and forceful right-sided centre midfielder, and he's really bringing something different to the game, and he likes to shoot from outside the box. Let's move on to Côte d'Ivoire, aka Ivory Coast. They have a few players we can look at. The first one is Kosunu. He is a right centre back, but he can also play right wing back. I believe he's the kind of player Arteta is looking for, that can play versatile roles, and a player we should be looking at. As at the moment, from what I've seen, we're just looking at centre backs, but what happens if the centre backs are injured? Then what? We can move White, and then we have to start jiggling Timber and White about. I think it gets a bit too complicated. I think we just need a right centre back that can play right wing back, so if anything happens to White or Timber, we've got adequate cover. And Mosquera can always go into that centre back role until one of them return from injury, or so forth. You catch the gist. But yes, he's someone I would look at. He had a very solid season for his club and country. He had a decent World Cup also, so I believe he fits into the mold of what we're looking for and what we want from our defenders, and playing out from the back, so definitely someone to watch. The next player is Ousmane Diomande. Now, he is a right-sided centre-back as well. However, he is not flexible in terms of playing right wing back and so forth. I believe he could step into this team and basically walk in as the new backup dancer. For Group E, this will be a quick and easy conclusion. Ecuador, I don't believe they have any players that can get into our team at present, and the same goes for Curacao. For Group F, I have a few players, however, they are all already based in the Premier League. So from Netherlands to Japan to Sweden to Tunisia, I'm going to say none of these players can get into the Arsenal team at present. This will be covered in the honourable mention section at the end, so stay tuned for that. For Group G, I only have one player to mention that is from Belgium. His name is Charles de Ketelaere. He is currently plying his trade in Serie A. He's tearing it up at the moment as a number 10. He understands what it is to create chances, score goals. He was one I was a bit apprehensive about, but then I did a bit of an eye test, a bit of a deep dive into him, and I feel like he is someone that could revolutionize our number 10 spot as someone that can actually control the game. I like Eze. I believe he's more of a moments man, which is what I call him, but he's not really a controller of the game as such, whereas Ketelaere can control games, bring people into play, finish himself. I believe he's the complete package. It's a deal we could possibly get done as he plays in Serie A. They're not the league they used to be. I believe we could offer them a decent amount of money, give them Jesus plus some change, and get the deal done. It's something that can be done, and it's a realistic possibility. So he's in there. The rest of the teams, Egypt, Iran, and New Zealand, there are no players that I believe can get into this Arsenal side right now. We move on to Group H. Spain, I think you already know who I'm going to pick. That's Pau Kubasi. He is a right-sided centre-back. He is 18 years old. He walks into this team as Saliba backup. At first, I crossed his name out, but I'm still going to put him in this mix. A right-sided centre-back for Cabo Verde. They deserve a mention out here. Logan Costa, he currently plays for Villarreal. He was a defensive rock for Cape Verde throughout the competition. Uruguay do not have any players I feel can fit into our team at present, so I haven't noted any players for them. However, for Saudi Arabia, they have a player called Abdul Hamid. He plays right wing back and also plays as a right centre back. We start off with Group I, and I'm going to start with France. We're going to do this in positional order as France have an absolutely ridiculous abundance of talent. So I'm going to start off with a name I know most of you know is Manu Kone. He's been linked with several clubs within the Premier League, ourselves, Chelsea, Man United, you name it, he's been linked. I believe he is the midfielder we need for the right side. But that's if we don't get this Bruno Gooners deal over the line with Newcastle. If that deal isn't achieved, we need to knock on Manu Kone's front door and hand him the contract directly. I don't want to hear about intermediaries. I don't want to hear about talking to his agent. Don't want to hear about none of that. Just go and get that guy if we don't get this Bruno deal over the line, as there are no right-sided centre midfielders out there in the market that can do what either these two do. So then we're going to be stuffed and dealing with a centre midfielder that's young, has potential, but then, yeah, we can't ask too much of someone that is plying his trade and still growing into his prime and hasn't reached that yet. So, yeah, it is what it is. We move on to the next target. Bradley Barcola, a left winger we've been linked with, can also play right wing. He's a bit of a conundrum, just like Martinelli. Martinelli can look like a world beater on some days, and Barcola has the same energy but at a higher consistency rate. That's about it. They have the same kind of attributes, blistering pace, can beat their man, can finish one-on-ones sometimes, not all the time. So it's one of those conundrums where you have to look at him and think this is a very interesting signing. But Barcola, for me, only comes in if Martinelli is moved out. Norway. Now, Norway, they had a very surprise inclusion who I liked. I've followed him for a bit, but during the World Cup, I've been even more impressed by him. His name is Andreas Schjelderup. I hope I pronounced it right because his name is wild to actually pronounce when you look at it in the first instance. He plays as a left winger and he also plays as a number 10. Senegal. Now, Senegal have one player I'm really interested in. The other one I will include in the honourable mentions as he's already within the Premier League. The one I wish to talk about is Ibrahim Mbaye. Now, I've known about him for a minute as well. Plays for PSG. He's young. He's more of an understudy to Doué and Barcola, as they have an abundance of wingers way ahead of this guy at the moment. Group J. We start off with Argentina. You all know the name I'm already going to say. Julian Alvarez, centre forward. More of a false nine mold player, someone Arteta really likes. Same for Berta. I believe he could do a job for us. I don't actually think, for me, starts ahead of Gyökeres. Group K, Colombia. Right-sided midfielder called Richard Rios. Now, he could get into our team also. He had a solid performance throughout the World Cup, and I believe he's someone that could bring something, a bit of bark, a bit of bite, a bit of everything to our midfield. One that's overlooked over the course of this World Cup, and definitely one I think should be looked at. So I've put him on the list. Let's move on to the next. Portugal have an abundance of players that I would look at. However, the feasibility of getting these deals done is basically 0 to 10%, but I believe they could be the difference makers. The first three all play for PSG. You already know who they are. Nuno Mendes, one of the best left wing backs in the world, walks into our team immediately. But PSG would highly likely not sell him. However, I know he's a game changer, a ceiling raiser, as I've been calling them this window. So definitely one I would look at. Part exchanger deal, give them Calafiori plus money. I don't really mind, to be honest. This season is last chance saloon for Calafiori. He's been way too injury prone, and people are overlooking his quality instead of actually looking at his availability, and that's what's most important. Availability is the best ability, I always say. Let's move on to the next target. Vitinha. He's been in the league before. He wouldn't really need an adjustment period. Why Wolves didn't actually keep him is beyond me. The flabbers are gasping, like like how they let him go to PSG for such little money is crazy. Vitinha, left-sided centre midfielder, you know who he is. He walked and trampled all over us in the Champions League. Same for his buddy, who I'm now going to get into, Neves, who is the right-sided centre midfielder, who also trampled over us in that Champions League final. They were all over us like I can't even tell you. It was ridiculous. It was like we had no midfield. So these two are immediate game changers, ceiling raisers. The chances of getting either deal done, again, 0 to 10%. But I mean, you don't shoot, you don't score, You miss all the shots you don't take. So I feel like this club needs to get a bit more arrogant with the bids they're making. And just try a thing. Just try a thing. Just throw something out there and see what bounces back. But if you don't throw anything out there, you're not going to see anything bounce back. So then you can't complain that nothing happened. You didn't throw anything out there, sir. So we move on to the next. The last but not least is Rafael Leao. He plays left wing for AC Milan. He's someone I'm not particularly a fan of. He's one of those players that will turn up and then they won't turn up, but I just don't feel like his consistency is something that Arsenal could really rock with. I moved on to Group L, as Group K, the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uzbekistan didn't have any players that could fit into Arsenal's side, so I moved straight into Group L. Group L has, across all four teams, none of them have players that I believe could get into our team or be realistic signings. So that's from England to Croatia to Ghana to Panama. England, for me, they only have Jude Bellingham, who I'd look at, but Jude Bellingham would cost absolutely insane money. Okay, let's start off the honourable mentions section. So this is for players I may have missed when I was highlighting the group stages, but it was for a reason. However, if I have missed any names at the end of this section, please put it in the comments section, because I love to learn about new players I may have missed or players I may have just simply overlooked. Please drop them in the comments and I'll do the eye test and I'll have a look into them. And then at some point I will do a video to cover what I feel those players' attributes are and whether they could fit into Arsenal's team and where, and you get the message, Alrighty, let's get into it. First but not least, let's start off with Yohan Manzambi. Now, I'm quite irritated this deal actually went through. Newcastle were looking at him first. They were stuttering and in and ahhing on the deal. Villa stepped in, said, 60 million, book back, go ahead, done. Now he's a Villa player. £60 million is what they paid for this guy. And in this market right now, it's an absolute steal. He can play in the midfield. He can play off the wings. I feel we've made a criminal decision in not signing this guy, to be honest. But we'll see what happens when the season starts. But that's a miss for me. The other player, he was Nathaniel Brown. He plays for Germany, and he also now has signed for Bayern. He signed for Bayern during the World Cup, and he's had an exceptional season. He's someone we were looking at. Bayern Munich stepped in during the World Cup, said, yo, let's just sign this guy now. They got the deal done. And yeah, Bob's your uncle. That target is now off our list. We move on to the next person. Crescencio Somerville of the Netherlands. He has now moved to a team in Saudi Arabia. I keep forgetting the name. There's too many Al Ittihads and Al Hilals. I really can't remember the name of the team, to be honest, but he has officially signed there now. He's had his medical in the Netherlands. A player I've wanted for years, and it's just sad that in the prime of his career now, he's going to go to Saudi. He can still come back and do something within the Premier League, but I just feel like, why has no Premier League team taken a chance on him? And he's very rarely injury prone, and he turns up in the big games. Isn't that what you want as a player, as a coach, as a manager? Is that not what you're looking for when you're trying to sign players? I don't understand it, but it is what it is. He's another target that's gone. We move on. Brian Broby of Sunderland, also playing for the Netherlands. Now, this guy is someone that I look at and just say, you know what? Sometimes you have to take your hat off, like I just done now. Sometimes you have to take your hat off and say, kudos to you, bro. Like, you've turned my opinion of you around, because I watched Brian Broby, because I live in the Netherlands and I watch a lot of Ajax football. And there was a time when Broby used to play for Ajax, and he used to be terrible. He used to miss some sitters. He used to miss kick it. He used to try and do an overhead kick, don't pull it off. Try and get a header. The header goes to the corner flag. Oh my gosh. I can't believe this is the same Brian Broby that I've seen. I mean, I saw over the course of last season, he scored against us, so I can't forget that. He's got great strength. But over the course of last season and the World Cup, I've noticed he has a lot of flair, and he can bring people into the game. He's got strength. He's actually got a high football IQ. There's a lot of things that have been overlooked when it comes to this guy. Now, we need another striker behind Gyökeres. Why we're not looking at Broby, I don't know. I mean, he's not going to offer you the same things Kai Havertz can. So I can kind of understand why you're not looking at him. But for me, if you're going to sell Gabriel Jesus, I want a striker that does the stuff your other strikers don't do. And Broby is one of those players that is gritty. He fights to the end. He can throw guys off the ball. He attracts players out of position, so then you can maneuver around them. I believe he's someone that's criminally overlooked. And coming towards the end of the window, if we haven't signed a striker, for me, I'm looking at Brian Broby. He's Premier League proven now. He's done a really good job at Sunderland and been a focal point of everything they've been doing this season. So for me, he should be in with a shout. Let's move on to the next. Bart Verbruggen. I have been talking about this goalkeeper for so many years. I don't know how Brighton have still got him on the books. I really don't know how. He had a fantastic season for Brighton. Unlucky to lose out in the end for European football. Off the top of my head, that's what I can remember. I think they just missed out on it. However, he is an incredible player. He can play with his feet. Netherlands' number one goalkeeper at the moment. Brighton's number one goalkeeper. Would he leave Brighton to be a number two? I personally don't think so. Does he start ahead of Kepa? Yes. But for me, that's when you sign a contract to give a player guaranteed games. That's when you do it. When you've got a player that's got potential to grow into, not just because they've signed a contract with you and you did that to keep them happy, like we did with Kepa, because ultimately he nearly ruined our season. So I've still got animosity towards Kepa at the moment. For me, I want to see him gone this summer and replaced. So Bart Verbruggen is someone that can walk in and do that. The other player I would include is Hannibal Mejiri. Now, he plays for Burnley. He plays mainly as a left-sided centre midfielder, so not someone we really need, but he can play the right as well. But he did well for Burnley last season, regardless of whether they were relegated. But I feel like he had a World Cup performance where he grew up, and everyone in Tunisia's team were looking to him for the answers. In every game I watched, as soon as Tunisia got possession of the ball, they were looking for him to create something, to do something, to drive the ball. They were always looking for him on the pitch. And not only offensively were they looking for him, defensively, he was putting in a shift, breaking up plays, starting them off. I believe he's someone that's criminally overlooked as well. A former Man United player, didn't quite make it there, went to Burnley, and of course they've been relegated now, but I believe there's something within him. He's still young as well. I believe there's something within him where he can go on to do great things also. So, yeah, we'll see how that works out. Maxim de Kuiper. Now, he is a left wing back for Brighton. Also, he had a fantastic season within the Premier League, and he had a great season for Belgium. Definitely one we should look at in terms of Calafiori replacements. If he has another injury hit season like he has been, definitely one we should look at. Let's move on to the next target. Noah Siddiqui, a right-sided centre midfielder, plays for Sunderland. He had a great World Cup. Also, he was immense. He was absolutely immense for club and country this season. 20 years old. I believe this kid can only get better. I believe he's one we should be looking into as well. Let's move on to the next target. Aaron Wan-Bissaka seems to be one that's popped up on our radar now. Right wing back, plays for West Ham, relegated with West Ham, used to play for Man United. You catch the gist. He's one of those defenders that defends well, does his job. Going forward, don't expect too much from him though. So that's the only down point of Aaron Wan-Bissaka. However, a defender's job is to defend first and foremost. That's what they're supposed to do first. Going forward, okay, he might not be as technically gifted in the final third, but to be honest, I don't really care for defenders doing that too much. That's what the attackers are supposed to do, as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, let's move on to the next target. Chris Richards, right centre-back, 26-year-old, plays for Palace, plays for America. He had a really good World Cup performance. Last season, he had a good season as well for Glasner's send-off. I think he had a good season as well. Could fill in, has Premier League proven experience, can sit in behind Saliba as the replacement for him until he returns back from injury. And also, you can then play Mosquera in cup games or whatever. But he's at the right age where he can just slot into the team. So he's definitely someone I've looked at. The last player I would look at is Ismaila Sarr. Now, he's another player that is a bit Humpty Dumpty when it comes to play. He reminds me of Martinelli. They have some really clutch moments, and they have other moments where you're like, what the hell just happened? He is one of those players. He plays for Palace. He's a right winger, but he can play the left wing as well. I believe he could come in and do a decent job for us, but that's only if Martinelli was to leave. But predominantly, he is a right winger who plays there most of the time, but he can play left wing and has had a significant amount of exposure to left wing and still performed. So it's not something that couldn't be done. However, he started the World Cup horribly, was missing chances, sitters, all sorts. Then after that first game, he went on to be one of the best the best players in his World Cup side. So yeah, that he's the last entry for the honorable mentions. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. The next one I think I'm most likely to do will be the World Cup review of the Arsenal players' performances. That will be a much shorter video and just covering who performed the best throughout the competition. So look out for that one. And in the meantime, between time, laters.